Alright, we're back. 49th video. SETH SUMARI to everybody out there. Now, I got a really weird fucking setup right now for this camera because I was recording earlier on the computer. Anyone who records, you guys know how it works, man. Sometimes suddenly you're in the middle of a good thing and then bam, no internet connection, you lose everything. That's something I really wish that they would fix. But anyway, so I don't really know how this camera's gonna come out. Like I got I got shoe boxes set up on top of a table just to level it out because I don't have a tripod here right now. But trying to hope, and I got a mirror behind to make sure I'm not on some weird angle or anything. I don't want to make like a 4-dimensional, make anybody sick, but alright, whatever. We'll get started with this, man. We're here, we're back. Let's get this kicked off properly. Now, we're in this new year, it's an illusion. We all know that. 2015, that's what they tell me. Is it really 2015? I don't know, but that can be debated. But what we do know is that we're all conscious, most of us anyway, and we are aware of our reality to some degree. Now, oh man, hold on. Things are already attacking me, man. Shit, it's a demon! No, I'm just kidding. You know there's no demons. Alright. Now, on a YouTube video of mine some time ago, in the Perceived Past, this is a SETH SUMARI Dark Arts 5. Wow, this is going way back. That was a video 5 on the multi-dimensional self, racism, beyond culture, SETH, material, innocences, yada yada. Okay. Person sent me a question. And the person's question is, this is from Tim Green. Tim Green says, here we are. I have a question. If someone wanted to erase a part of their lives because it was causing them pain, how would we go about doing that in the spiritual realm? Unfortunately, due to peer pressure and other things like that, my beliefs have had to become secret. Many thanks, these videos have become helpful so far. Okay, well, thank you, Tim Green. I'm glad my knowledge, I'm glad my videos have helped you out, and I'm glad that they've been helping a lot of other individuals. Hold on, something about me. What is, okay, that's just part of the couch. Relax. Now, I do understand, okay, so how can we go about erasing that part of our lives? We all have, you know, when we manifest into this reality, we all have things that we don't like. You know, we all have things that we worry about, negative past that we call negative traumas. You want to know how do you go about erasing that? Well, I don't know if the answer is to erase it, because a lot of times what we perceive to be negative could actually empower us and make us much stronger. I mean, you could do these. I mean, I'll give you one simple technique. It's just something to use. You go into your meditation state, your trance state, and you visualize the experience that you had, right? You think about that. And then you don't just erase it, because you don't want to just like start if we all just started erasing moments from our past, things that we didn't like, we have like these big empty spaces where nothing seems to have happened. Obviously that can't happen. But you know what I'm saying, man. I mean, you don't just erase, replace. And what I mean by that is you take the negative aspects of what you thought was negative or some bad thing in your past that you didn't like, and you visualize another situation that you actually wanted to happen. So let's say, for example, when you were a kid, your mother walked into the bathroom and caught you masturbating. That's where I said masturbation. Oh, people, it's just language. Don't be shy. But if that did happen, and that has happened to some people, if your mother walked into the bathroom and caught you doing that, what you would do is visualize that not happening. And it's not just visualizing, right? This is like, you have to do it with a lot of focus, and not just saying, okay, my mother didn't catch me doing that, the door was locked. I mean, that's very simplified, but you would have to use all of your sense data, actually recreate the whole scene from nothing, recreate it in your mind, and you would have to do this continuously, with a lot of energy behind it. And if you do that enough, what happens is that will become a probable event that did happen. Now the other event still would have happened, but you would be changing the terms to accept a new reality that you wanted to happen. A lot of times, if there's enough energy and creativity put behind it, that could change not only your perception of the event, but also from the perspective of others, where if they're willing to accept it and acquiesce to it, they might shift as well with your new version of what happened. Now, the most important thing is it doesn't matter if other people accept your new found creation of the probable event that you didn't want to experience. The only important thing is if you have changed it within yourself. So even if your mother caught you doing that and she remembers that in her memory, it doesn't matter. At some point your mother's going to leave this realm of reality and you'll still be here probably. You don't want to still be lingering around with that in your mind. If you've at least changed it within yourself, then the whole thing changes and you don't have to worry about that anymore. So, you know, I was thinking about, I wrote down some points that I wanted to get into real quick. And this connects kind of what you're talking about as far as like, things from the past and certain negative points, traumas that we don't want to keep in our memory. One of them had to do with living in poverty, living in bad neighborhoods, right? So I had here, a lot of people grow like, man, yeah, I'm in Japan right now and I live decent. I mean, I'm not like living on top of a fucking mountain. I'm not like the king or anything, although I like to believe I am. But yeah, I live a pretty simple life here, man. Now, me growing up, I grew up in the South Bronx, New York. Now, if anyone has lived in New York or they're living in New York and they know about the Bronx is just the Bronx. I'll put it like that, man. Now, I grew up in the hood, man. I grew up in the ghetto, and luckily for me, like my mother, she tried her hardest. She put me through Catholic schools, which was a great learning experience. And basically, if you're in the hood and you go to Catholic school, it's not really to learn the teachings of Christ. It's mostly because to give you at least some type of fucking chance in the reality that you're in, to give you a head start, at least to put you on a proper path, because the public school systems are a little bit, they're not all that well put together. So, my mom struggled. She put me through that system, and I went through it all the way up all through elementary school, junior high school, 8 years straight. Then I went into high school. I did about 2 years into high school, 9th grade, 10th grade, and there's 4 years for high school in America, if you don't know that. So 9, 10, 11, 12. I did 9th and 10th, and then around the 10th grade, it got hard for my mom, man. My mom was struggling, single mom. So she was trying to do her best, but the school was too expensive. And basically, I had to leave, man. I had to get out of there. So I ended up leaving the school, going into the public school system, and that gave me a whole nother perspective. Because my mom couldn't afford the school anymore, Catholic school, they just basically boot you out with no transcripts or nothing. And I had to go to my local zone school. Now, for those of you who don't know, a zone school is basically the school that is the closest to wherever you live at. And if you're in the hood, you're pretty much fucked. You end up in a school that's crazy. So I went to this school, man, and I grew up going to my school was in the hood, it was in the ghetto, but it was controlled, man. It was like a different reality when you walked through those doors. So they put it like this: if I'm not in the homeroom, like when I hit high school, right? If I'm not in my homeroom by 8 o'clock, by 8:05, they're calling the house. Where is he? What's going on? Is he sick? And all this stuff. When I hit public school, man, it was a culture shock, man. It was like, there was police cars outside, ambulance in case anything happens. You hit the door, there's metal detectors, police with guns. I was like, oh shit, man, this is real. And you get inside, and it was just crazy, man. It was just crazy. Now, I'm not saying all public schools are like that. I know there are a lot of specialized ones, a lot of good ones, but the one that I went to was like, wow, man, this is crazy. And you know, you get in class, people not paying attention, they're playing cards, playing Game Boys, painting their nails and shit, man. It was just mayhem. So the point of that little rant I just went on, to give you that little background, is like, I could have become a statistic, and that's the point. Like, don't become a living statistic. You know, I could have said, oh yeah, you know, I grew up in the hood, man. Oh, it's fucking tough, and that's why. A whole list of things that I could have went down. You know, I could have fucking started selling drugs. I could have started pimping women out. I could have done anything. You know, I could have done anything. Started robbing, stealing, joined a gang. I could have did all that stuff. And my excuse would have been, oh, because I grew up in the hood and, you know, I had a chance and then I lost it and now I'm in the school system and that's why I'm a statistic now of society. It doesn't have to be that way, man. It really doesn't have to be that way. So, yeah, let me get back to what I was saying, man, because I'm slowly losing it. The reason I brought that up is about, we talked about the past with Tim Green, and he wants to change his past. And basically I was like, don't let your living situation define who you are as an individual. If you grow up in a poor neighborhood, if you grow up in the so-called ghetto, hood, or whatever terms they want to use for these places, which are mostly created by the economy, what you do is you have to see it from a different perspective. How I see it was, for me, was like, okay, I went through all of that because when I came to this reality, you know, I decided, okay, I want to have, but whatever I was going to do at this point now where I'm at, that was all going to basically be like a learning process to help me better understand, help me better communicate with individuals on all levels. If I grew up in the posh, you know, environment of Beverly Hills and, you know, in these type of rich neighborhoods and stuff, it wouldn't have given me it wouldn't give me the necessary background I need to communicate with people on all different levels. I could talk to anybody, man. I communicate with people on any level. I don't care if it's a homeless guy, drug addict, crackhead, dope fiend, prostitute, murderer, I mean, whoever. I can communicate with all of them, man, because I can relate, because I grew up in that kind of environment and around certain people like this, so I know where they're coming from. If I grew up in some really privileged, so-called privileged area, I wouldn't know how to deal with that. So that part of my past, I don't want to erase it, you know. I mean, I could say, oh, what else really... I mean, I grew up good, man. My mom, you know, my parents, they took care of me and they showed, you know, they tried their best to shelter me from the outside reality, what was going on, while at the same time letting me know what was really going on. Not shelter me to the point where I become like a hermit and completely, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, unable to perceive the idea of these things were reality. So they let me know, hey, this is what's really going on, man, but we're trying our best to keep you from getting involved in that. So I could be like, you know, this goes into the phrase where people be like, oh, you know, he doesn't know where he came from. You know, this is when people get it big, you know, which I'm not at that point yet. But when people are like, oh, you know, he forgot where he came from. He's from the hood, and now look at him. He's out there living it up and, you know, fucking buying boats, yachts, and houses. I know where I come from, man. And for one thing, see, this is when all spirituality ties into this, because it's like, people say, well, I know where I come from the hood. Do you really? I mean, that was just basically one aspect of my life, one small trip that I endured through my infinite journey through, you know, throughout the universe and through time and space, the illusion time and space. I don't let it define me as a person. It's just something that happened, man. That's it. Just an experience. So I see that, for me, as an opportunity to help people in those situations and know how to communicate with them. You know, there's nothing worse than you see people who, like, they never had it hard. I'm not saying you gotta have it hard, but a lot of you know where I'm coming from intuitively. People who've never really struggled, they never experienced struggle, they've had it all handed to them on a silver plate, they never had to worry about anything. And then they'll look at people who are opposite. Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, but he should just get a job. He should work. He could go to McDonald's. It's like, you have never worked a day in your life. You've had everything handed to you down from your parents and their parents and grandparents and so on and so forth. So you don't know what you're talking about, you know. And like I said, I'm not gonna use it as a cop out, like, oh, this is why people rob and steal. You know, they could get jobs. Yeah, I mean, on one perspective, they don't have to do that, but see, this goes back to my understanding. Me growing up in that environment, I understood. I seen why people went to those situations, or whether it was selling drugs. And I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that it was right and they should have sold drugs or they should have, you know, killed people and these things. But they were simply just doing what they felt was the only options available to them. And I've seen this for myself, you know, from the front lines. You know, people go out, people try to find jobs. If you have a family of 5 to feed, 5 mouths, and you gotta feed them, and you're out trying your best, you're trying to do these fucking programs, job employment, job training, they're not giving you a chance, and then you do all that, and then you go in, and oh, sorry sir, we're not hiring, sorry man, we're not hiring right now. Oh, well, there is McDonald's down the block, you know, and you go there and people are treating you like shit, they're not respecting you, and you know, and then someone comes along and says, hey man, I got a few bags, you know, you sell this, you get, you know, fucking 2 G's in a week. I mean, what would you do? I mean, let's keep it real. If you were in that situation where you got a whole family to feed, you got McDonald's paying you, just say that that time, fucking, I don't know, $6.50 an hour, or sell crack and get 2 G's in a week. Now, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just making a point of this is what happens when society fail, when people fail, when governments fail the society, certain society, people in certain categories. I don't like categories, but you know where I'm coming from. People in certain parts of society are not taken care of or given the proper chances. They turn to criminal elements to support themselves. So, yeah, man. Don't wipe out, like I said. Don't erase, replace, man. We can replace any aspect of our lives that we don't like. We can replace it with something else and make it into a better situation. Now, I'm pumped up. I'm fucking amped, and you know, I had some other stuff to do today, but that video, first YouTube video shutting down on me almost threw me for a minute. So I was like, oh fucking come on, the universe is against me. But no, it's but what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna just make a bunch of fucking videos right now because I'm in the zone. So since I got this camera, I don't know how long this battery's running, and this is the first time I'm using a digital camera, and then I'm gonna try to upload this to YouTube. Never done that before, but I don't want it to end up becoming like some big file, so I'm gonna keep my videos short for now. Got this video out here basically addressing Tim Green's question about erasing the past. Just to recap, remember what I said: go into your meditation state, don't erase, replace. Find a situation that you want to have happen, whatever your past experiences were. I'm not, what's to say, where am I before? Can't get it now. I'm not trying to devalue your experience. We all have things in our past that we want to forget. It could range from domestic violence to rape to anything. All I'm simply saying is you don't have to let that justify your whole experience for reality. No matter how bad it was, accept that it was just an experience that happened, and you could, how do I say, you could have a different experience if you want to, and you can, because you have that power. That's one of the powers afforded to you through the power of all that is, the power to manipulate and change your reality at will, depending on your beliefs about it. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this one short for now, and then I'm gonna pop up with another one, man. Alright, SETH SUMARI to everybody out there, and get back at you in a minute.